Where are my girls that are feeling overwhelmed? Like you just feel like you could scream. Everything is just overwhelming. What if the reason isn't because you're doing everything wrong? Like sometimes that's what we feel like, right? But because you're doing a lot of things and you were never meant to hold it all together in the first place. I always I don't wanna say I hate hearing that when I say that to myself or when somebody says that to me, but I'm like, "What else do you want me to do? Like, this is life. This is what I have to do." But what if it's not? Like, you are not responsible for being the one to hold it all together for everything, for everyone. You're giving it all you got. Like, this is it. Like, this is the one big shot. You're doing your best, and underneath it all of it. You're tired. You're tired of trying to manage it. You're tired of carrying it, tired of trying to keep everything from falling apart, right? Today is part 1 of a two-part conversation with my dear friend, Nichole Suvar, author of I Don't Have to Hold It All Together. That title alone tells you if you've been feeling that way, this one's for you, girl. And all I can say to that is, honey, me too. This first part is tender and honest. I am not going to try to sugarcoat that. We talk about anxiety, perfectionism, control, and what it feels like to carry something for years before you finally have language for it. And this conversation is for anyone who looks like you're holding it all together on the outside, but feel like you are unraveling on the inside. Maybe today is the beginning of remembering you don't have to hold it all. Hey, friends, welcome back to Wildly Hopeful. Today, we are having a wildly hopeful chat in a space for soft hearts, steady faith, and for those that know that God is meeting us right in the middle. I am so glad you're here. Today's conversation is part 1 with my dear friend Nichole. And honestly, I think so many of you are going to feel seen in this one. Nichole is the author of I Don't Have to Hold It All Together, Cultivating the Peace of Eden When Feeling Overwhelmed. Listen, just in the title, I already knew when she and I were going to have this conversation that her book was going to undo me. And for over 30 years, Nichole lived with undiagnosed anxiety, and she tried to find peace through perfectionism, control, and staying constantly busy. Just to realize that the harder she tried to hold everything together, the more overwhelmed she became. And in her story, she gently invites us back to something deeper. Not more striving, not better systems, not another way to perform peace, but a return to the kind of peace God intended from the very beginning. In the first part of our conversation, we talk about what it looks like to carry anxiety without language for it, how shame can attach itself to mental health struggles, especially for women of faith, and why needing support does not mean your faith is weak. And because our conversation was so rich, we were cut short. Yeah, your girl likes to yap, but we decided to make this a two-part series. So today you'll hear part 1, and next week we'll continue with part 2, where Nichole shares more about the breaking point that led her to her diagnosis, the peace of Eden, and what it looks like to stop living like everything depends on you holding it together. So take a deep breath. This one is going to be life-giving, and it's also going to feel like permission. Here is a wildly hopeful chat. I just know that our chat is going to be so fun. I already want to preface it though that I love to be the fun friend and to always say that I'm the one that laughs all the time. And I do think I'm funny on the side. Like I think my kids think I'm a comedian, and I may not be as funny as I think I am, but anyway. But we always tend to just manage to go deep here
Okay.
um on this show. So I just want to let you know that before we even get started. But before we go deep, I always just kind of love to start here so that our friends have a little context. So they've heard about your titles, they've heard about who you are, they've heard about what you do, but who is my friend behind the titles, behind the word author, and what is something in your life right now that's just simply and ordinarily you that's bringing you joy right now?
Ooh, okay. What's bringing me joy? Um, well, I am a mom of teenagers, which I know you would be like, oh, that brings you joy? Not necessarily,
Not every day, all day.
not every
Right.
day. But I am in a season with my kids that I really am loving. I have a 19-year-old son who just finished up his freshman year of college, and I have a daughter who's graduating from high school in like
Yeah.
2 weeks, and I have another daughter who's getting her driver's license any day.
Fun.
So all of those things are like big things and a little nerve-wracking, especially that license thing. Um, but I think that just the fact that I'm in this season now with my kids, that there's more independence,
Mhm.
and I'm choosing to celebrate that
Yeah.
instead of like mourning the loss of like the adorable little 3-year-old. Because I think our mind can start to forget like how unadorable they were at 3 years old.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I'm finding the joy in having older children and those that are a little more independent and just seeing them growing into who they are as humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good, it's scary, it's all the things all at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a 26-year-old, a 25-year-old, and a 19-year-old.
Okay.
But I also, let me preface that with I have 5 grandbabies. So I have that are between 7 and 15 months. And so I am with you on that. Like, I have the joy of having my adult children. It's still very scary at times. I used to kind of laugh and I was like, I kept her alive today. Like it was hard. It was hard work and I did it. And I still feel like I say that a lot now today that they're in their 20s. I don't know that I have
Yeah.
much to do with that, but yeah, it is rewarding. It's fun. It's scary, all the things. But I will tell you, with having a 19-year-old that he's such a good boy. He's my only boy. I have 2 girls and a boy. He's such a good boy, but he's the one that just kind of pushes and tests my limits and his limits and what is safe and unsafe. So I also feel the whole driver's license thing. Now, my oldest, when she was 16, she did not pass her like test, the test part the first time. That intimidated her so much that she did not go back until she was 18 years old. She just did not want to. Wasn't that I
Okay.
didn't let her, so she just didn't drive.
Yeah.
And so I, I'm like, I'm kind of thankful for that time because you know what I mean? Like she was like, I'm not ready. I don't know if it was the intimidation or if it was she wasn't ready. But then when he turned 6, I mean, he was trying to get a driver's license at, 14,
Yeah.
15. And so it's just so funny, the ones that push the limits. But I was just going to say, there is life here. There's life to be lived here, and it's fun. And I find myself in the camp too of motherhood. And maybe it could be because I'm an empty nester, but I have littles that are grandbabies. So I get that, I get both sides of the fence really good. But I enjoy this side of motherhood and like you said, like not mourning the loss of having the pitter patter of little feet. Like I still do look at my son a lot and I'm like, how are you doing that? You're only 8 years old. Like, how are you even doing that? You're only 8.
Yeah.
But I enjoy this. And my husband and I, we've been married for 28 years this year. And we are living in a place in our marriage that we haven't lived in a long time. Like we have spontaneous date night for like no reason on a Tuesday night, just because it literally may be like Thursday and he may be like, you want to just stay at the beach this weekend, just leave and, just call the week early. And I'm like, okay, hey, yeah, sure. And so those are freedoms, right? That we don't have, when our kids are little. So,
Yeah. It's
yes,
common is what you're telling me.
yes, that's what I was fixing to tell you. I don't know that I'd be like, yes, the teenage years are bringing me joy. Because they do sometimes, but then sometimes it's like, you're
Yeah.
lucky I gave you life. I'm not trying to take it away back. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't hurt
I just
nobody.
feel like we have, like, our brains do confirmation bias. Like, if we are thinking something is terrible, we're going to keep looking for the terrible things. And
Yes.
so I feel like that with like it's been every stage of parenting. Like I need the confirmation bias that I'm like, no, there is joy in this season. And so
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you went there because what I wanted to talk to you about, kind of where I really want to start with our wildly hopeful chat today is for so long and for many years, you were carrying anxiety without even having language for the anxiety. And so I love that you are looking for like the joy and looking for the good because that can be hard. That can be hard, especially for those of us that our brains are wired sometimes to just think and overthink about what we were just overthinking about. I was literally telling my therapist that this morning. I was like, I don't know why I'm sitting here right now. I have this scenario in my mind that's not even happened, but I'm playing it out right now for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
already thinking about what I was be thinking about when this happened. And she's just like, not laughing at me, but she just knows me. And before she kind of leaned into what she was going to say and her insight from me, she just kind of chuckled at first and she was like, I knew where you were going with that when you started because, she just knows me by now. But,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I would just like to start there because I think the year of our Lord 2026, so many of us live in a place of anxiety and the unknown and the uncertain. And not that times have ever been certain. I think we would like to say that they are. I think there are times that we would love to feel like we're in control, and truly we're never in control of anything. God's in control of everything. But there are times when we feel like we're not spiraling, at least. And I honestly think, that if we truly sit down and ask people, probably since 2019, 2020, that there has been an increase, an uptick, because there is just so much exposure to things that are going on that I think we never had the ability to be able to consume and to be privy to, and information that we have. And, um, who's on the side of right and who's on the side of wrong, and everybody has a voice and everybody's opinions are right. And, sicknesses that we've never dealt with. I mean, there's just been a lot, uncertainty in jobs and, the economy and, the ebbs and flows of life, but they feel intensified, I think. And so that is a good place that I would love to start is I think this will resonate with so many of our friends listening today about what it feels like to live in the place of carrying anxiety and not even really knowing how to put words to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've known anxiety, like might have memories all the way back from like 8 years old when I'm having panic attacks. But I
Yeah.
did not know that's what they were. Like I said, I didn't have the language for it. So I would
Yeah.
try to tell my parents, I try to tell my teachers I was having panic attacks in school. And their answers were like, oh, that's not that big a deal. Oh, don't worry about it. Just calm down.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
most of my
'Cause
life,
that's what
that's what
we
I've been
do,
trying to do.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying harder and harder to not worry. Um, but it wasn't until I was 36 years old that I was actually diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and saw a doctor, got on medication to get it under control, started seeing a counselor. And as we're talking through it, realizing like all of these things when I was 8, like that is what that was.
Yeah, this has been my friend for a long time,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
friend
I
that I
would,
did not invite, right? Yeah.
yes. You would say I'm an expert because you need like what, 10,000 hours in order to be considered an expert. So
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
an expert in anxiety.
And just like,
Yeah.
isn't that just like us though? Because as people, and many of us, especially as women, we want to be fixers, right? Like I want to fix your problem. And then if we don't know the answer to something, it's just like we have a good way of just like, just calm down. Like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just calm down?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many times, especially for children that have anxiety, that have no idea what's going on, as in your youth, in young adult, I mean, even in your 30s, 40s, it doesn't matter what age, when we truly are experiencing something, especially when you've had anxiety for the first time, or when it's to a point to where you can't feel like you have any control over it at all, or your first panic attack, like you said. And it's just so easy for us. Just calm down. Right. And then, I always like to say the worst thing that you can ever possibly do to me or for me is if I am being irrational, it's like the worst thing for you to ever do is to
Yeah.
say, calm down
Come down.
or
It's never worked for anybody.
cannot calm down. You know what I mean? Like, if I could
Yeah.
calm down, do you not just think I would right now? Do you think I would just, be looking like this just for the fun of it? And so then it's like, I'm just like, "Rrr," you know what I mean? And so, and of course, to anybody listening to me right now, okay, just, I was fixing to sound like my mom for a minute back in the day, like, you do as I say and not as I do, like, right? Like,
Right.
so don't attack anybody because they've told you to calm down. But anyway, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Yeah, but so you have had anxiety for a very long time and you've learned to live in that, to manage it and to deal with it, as I put my air quotes up for anybody that can't see them right now. What have you done? I mean, what does that look like when somebody says, "I'm managing my anxiety"? What does managing having anxiety look like?
Yeah, because what we want to move to a place of thriving, not surviving. And if
Amen.
anxiety is the one that's leading us or is overarching our life, like we are just trying to survive. We're just trying to get through a day. Like we're
Yeah.
not really growing. Like thriving means that we're growing and we're learning. And so for me, when I was finally received a diagnosis, like I feel like that's what I call like my healing began. Like I am still anxious. I have a disorder that will not, like, it is just the way my brain has been wired, the way the chemicals do what they do. This is just part of who I am. But it's it's part of me, but it's not all of me. And so I've had to, like, yeah, just kind of build different tools into my life
Mhm.
to keep that anxiety where it needs to be. Like
Yeah.
honor the fact that this is something that is part of my body, but it is not the one that's going to control it. I think like similar, like often we can look at mental disorders in a different category than like other health disorders. But I was just telling a friend the other day, and like if I had diabetes, if I was diagnosed with like juvenile diabetes, like that's something that like you can't fix it. It's with it you your whole life, but you find a way to manage things so that you are healthy and you can thrive even though you have this diagnosis of diabetes. You just have to know what are your limits, what are your boundaries, what are the things that you should and shouldn't do in order to like set yourself up for your best.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I approach, like if I'm someone who like is prone to anxiety, what are the things I need to build into my life so that I am the one who's functioning and this thing over here, like it stays in its box where it needs to be.
Yeah. And I love that you said that you have anxiety, but it may be a part of you, but it's not all of you. It doesn't define you. It's not who
Hmm.
you are.
Yes.
And I love that you acknowledge that, because I think with any, even if it were diabetes, even if it's hypertension, like this is something that I have, that I deal with, that I live with on a daily basis. But this isn't all of me. Like there's more of me than this. And when you are in the thick of it, of whatever that thing is that feels like it's just bigger than you in your life, it can feel all consuming. Like almost like our whole identity is consumed by whatever that thing is for us, whether it's anxiety, whether, I mean, it could be um, a sickness. It could be at this point, just think, it could be financial. It could be anything. There are things in our lives that we have, that we hold on to, that are not our identity. And so I love that you said that, because there comes a point in time that we have to, and like you said, when you learn to manage, when you learn to live with, when you learn to deal with and learn to cope with, is learn to live and embrace the life that we're living right now in the space that we are, and with what we have been dealt. Some people are dealt cards differently than others, and we don't have answers for that. Like that's another thing, when we don't have the answer for something, we would love to be able to explain things away, right? And we would love to say things that sound good to make other people feel better, because we want to fix it. We want to explain it away. But sometimes we just can't. And truly, God is the only one that can handle this, and that we have to work some things out with Him. And at that point, all I can be is just a friend to you, when you're experiencing whatever your thing is, or like just for you to know that I could be a safe place for you to land and that I may not have all the answers. And that's okay. I don't have to feel like I have to have the answers to
Yeah.
fix you.
Yeah, I think as
And
someone who is struggling with anxiety, to have someone who doesn't say, "Just calm down, it's not that big a deal." Like, you don't have to tell me. There's a part of me that knows I might be freaking out. I don't
right.
need you to tell me that, but my body is feeling otherwise. So what is even better is to be beside them and be like, "Hey, this looks like it's a really big deal to you. This seems like it's really making you anxious.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here with you in it. I'm not going to leave you. You're not going to be too much for me. Talk to me. Let's talk it out loud. Do you need to say something out loud about it?" Sometimes just or externally processing, or like, "Hey, can we go for a walk?" Or just letting that person know that you're not just going to leave them and that you're willing to be there with them in their hard thing
Yeah.
is
And that
good.
you're
It's
not
big.
too much for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not too much because there are times that I think that we are scared to be vulnerable in those situations. It definitely has to be a safe place because we don't want to feel like we're too much, right? Because we're already thinking that
Yeah.
ourselves for
Yeah.
ourselves is that this is too much. We do have you have a rational component in your brain, but it just may not be the part of your brain that's actually walking this thing out right now.
Yeah.
It may just be the other part right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And then do you think did it feel like strength? Did it feel like a weakness? Did you feel like when you are walking through this, did you was there ever a time when you thought, is something broken in me? Am I okay? Um, before you ever even truly knew what you were going, because you were 36 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So for 36 years, we think about the woman with the issue of blood. That was 12 years. That's a long time, right? So for 36 years, you dealt with this before you had a name. We always I like to have a face to go with the name, So before you had a name to go with the
The
face of what
face.
you were living. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what was that like? And do you ever feel like perfectionism?
Yeah. So, yeah, I felt very broken in the fact that when I was I was a believer, I was a Christian, I was a Jesus follower, but yet I could not shake this worry. And yet there's all this scripture that tells me that, don't be anxious for anything, to cast all your cares on him. I saw them as commands and I just could not follow them. So
Yeah.
therefore I felt like I'm not doing this right. I'm not a very good Christian. So there's a lot of shame that came with that. And when I finally could have answers and descriptions, or this is what this disorder is, this is gave me some answers, and it helped me see that I can still be a Jesus follower. I can still be useful in his kingdom. Just because I'm struggling with this thing does not mean that I'm disqualified. And that he actually wants me to come to him with this stuff. Like when he said, "Don't be anxious for anything," or "cast your cares on me." That was actually an invitation, not a command. And so when I started seeing it more about Jesus wants to come alongside us in the middle of our overwhelm and our chaos and our anxiety, he wants to come with us. We don't have to get that all calmed down and under control before we can welcome him in. He wants to meet us there in the middle of it. Because like you said, asked about perfection. Yeah, that is one thing I struggled with a lot. And I still do. I see it in my tendency, because when we're anxious or overwhelmed, we want control, because that's the one thing that feels like we can calm ourselves down. If we can just get everything, we can know all the scenarios, we can get everything under control, everything's in the right place, everything's happening at the right time. And that control is real, just butts up right against perfectionism, and just they kind of go right alongside each other. But when we start acknowledging that, like you had said earlier, control is a falsehood. None of us are in control, but we create these manufactured ideas that we are in control. And so we're creating our own peace instead of going to our Father to be the one who's the source of true peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's good. I love that you said that you can still love Jesus and know that you have anxiety. You can still be a Jesus follower. You can still trust him. You can still have faith. You can still believe. And, you know, that one thing that I think, well, in even in the medical world, in the real, in the world, I don't want to say the real world and the church, but in the world and the church, I don't think that we're at a place yet that we know exactly how to be a good friend or a good or even providers, medical providers, because there is a lot of shame and a lot of feeling weak because I am living with an anxiety disorder. There is a lot, especially in the church and for women that don't even feel safe enough yet, or that they can trust, or that there's so much shame around coming forward and saying, I'm a Sunday school teacher, or I study the Bible, or I have written devotionals, or, whatever the case may be, afraid of what it's going to look like or how they're going to be perceived because they are in the church and because they love Jesus. And, well, what is this going to look like? And I don't know that we've gotten there yet. And I'm walking very gently around this as far as the church. That we've gotten there yet. And I don't want to ask the question to you, like, what do you think is missing? What I would love to know, as someone who has lived with anxiety that you can look back and see that you have been experiencing since you were 8 years old, what do you think? Who do you think you needed inside the church? Who did you need for you to be for you? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then I think that is a better way if we start looking at it that way, not like this is a problem that needs to be fixed because someone's broken, but who is it that I would have needed? Who did I need others to be? And then if we can start looking at that inside the church as to maybe we need to be more open about this. Maybe we need to make sure that we have language around that there are people sitting right beside us inside this church today, or right beside us at this coffee shop, or right beside us at this dinner table, or wherever it may be, that are wearing this necklace around their neck. And it's this badge of honor that says, I'm fine. When
Mhm.
truly on the inside, there's a lot of things going on that do not mimic the words, I am fine. And so, who would you say that you wish you would have had or that you could be for others that are, especially inside the church, that are experiencing this generalized anxiety?
Yeah, I think it's really important to look at like generational mentorship, to
Yeah.
have like if when I was young, still in high school or even like the elementary, to have someone who's 10 years ahead of me,
Mhm.
who would be able to who would listen to me, who would validate what's going on. But then
Yeah.
they've got enough lived experience that they can validate what's going on, but then they can say like, okay, so here's a perspective for you to consider. And there's just a little more value because they've lived a little bit more life. And so I think someone who's just like even 10 years ahead of wherever we're at, and it could be definitely more than that. Like I think of just those like young moms who have like a grandma kind of age, like just the mentorship that we can give to one another, then we give each other space to validate what the feelings are or what they're experiencing. Like, this is real. I'm not going to discredit it. I'm not going to tell you that it's not that big a deal. But then let me share some perspective with you. Let me share,
Yeah.
I'm a little further down the road. Here's some other things to consider. And
Mhm.
then being willing to stay with them and say, like, I'm going to help you have the courage to move forward, even though some of these things are happening. So I feel like also anxiety can make us be like, oh, I can't do that. I'm too scared, or this is too much for me. And so we like back ourselves out of things. But one of the best ways to get over some anxiety is to actually get into whatever that thing we're anxious about, because our body just, or our minds just keep thinking of all these what if scenarios. And so but to have someone beside us being like, I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to go with you. Like, well, let's do this thing together. And I just think of the many things that I've had to start experiencing and being like, I'm going to do it anyways. And yeah, it was still scary. There was still things that made me feel anxious. But each time you address something that makes you anxious and you come out on the other side, again, you're just enforcing that part in your brain that's like, hey, I lived through that. hey, I can do it the next time and the next time. So I think having someone with us, we are not supposed to do this alone. And I think like bringing another human alongside that we can trust. And so if we're older, like looking down to someone who's younger, like who in that age group looks like who could be someone that I could encourage and mentor. And I think like, yeah, we need some of that in the church.
Yeah, I really do think so, and especially, especially in the church. In the world, it's not, and I hate to say that it's taboo, but it's more widely, accepted that you have diabetes or you have high blood pressure or you have another disease state. We can get behind those, and we agree you should go to the doctor, or we agree that you should receive medication. We all are on the same page that you need this taken care of. But then when it comes to mental health, there is a disconnect, and in some points and places, I believe, as to where there is no shame. When my dad felt like his head was gonna, blow off his shoulders because his blood pressure was very high, there was no shame anywhere that he should go to the doctor. And when they gave him medication for that, there was no shame that he should take that. And, I there are places, and like you said, and one of the good, I think a good place to start could be just mentorship, just talking about it, just realizing that, you know what? This is something that we deal with. In the world, it's not taboo, right? Like, I think worldly, it's much easier. People's getting in touch with their feelings all the time, and
Yeah.
their emotion, you know what I mean? So it's not as taboo, and unfortunately, I even hate to say that it is, and it's not because I don't think anybody's just sitting here judging, "Oh, I can't believe feel overwhelmed. I can't believe you feel overstimulated," because I believe if all of us were to look in the mirror, we'd be like, "Whew, honey, I was just overstimulated this morning. I mean, just trying to
Right.
brush my teeth and get ready for the day," you know? Um, but to know that they're not alone in this. And I think if we start doing a job of saying, this is a normal part of life to process emotions, it is healthy to have emotions. God created them. This is not something that we created. It's not something that we did on our own. And you know what? It's not even something that I'm just like, oh my goodness, I am so thankful that I have a mind that just runs all the time like a clock, that I'm laying in bed at night and I'm already trying to solve tomorrow's problems before I even close my eyes tonight. Like, I don't think anybody's very excited about that.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's very warranted, and I think that it is very healthy to be able to have conversations like this where it's just, I don't wanna glorify it, obviously, because we give the glory all to the Lord, but I think that we need to normalize that people are really walking through some things, and there are not only people that are walking through things, I think there are people that are silently walking through things, and
Yes,
that's the
definitely.
part where my heart is broken, is that they don't feel like they can reach out. There's not that, and like you said, for you to know you were never meant to walk this road alone. And I think in my experience, I've been a nurse practitioner, it feels like for 100 years. And in my experience, some of the most anxious people are some of the strongest people. And they're the ones that carry everything. And they're the ones that try to carry everything for everybody. And so we have this misconception that if I go to you and say, "Friend, I'm struggling," that I look weak. No, actually, what's weak is if we continue to try to hide and struggle in this. What's very courageous and brave is to say, think I'm having an issue. I think I'm struggling right here. And it's because especially women, right? We want to fix it. You tell me something right now, and I mean, we are fixing to try to solve it
Oh, yeah.
every which way from Sunday, right? Like, I need to get to the bottom of it. I need to know what to do. I want my friend to be like, yes, this is, and so I think that, we need to get to that place. And so it's very needed and warranted for women just like you to say, you know what? This wasn't something I asked for. This wasn't something that was made up. I was 8 years old and been experiencing this since I was 8 years old and maybe even had a tummy ache. I had no idea what was
Mhm.
going on, but my
Yeah.
stomach was hurting. And guess what? That
Mhm.
stomach ache at that time was anxiety,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And like you said, I love the thought of generational. Like, there is a need for the older women in the church. There is a need for the younger women in the church. And there is a place for us to be able to communicate that is so beautiful because, like you said, honey, I've lived some things. I have walked through some things that I would say I had never walked through when I was 19 years old, when I was 25, 25 years old. And I wish that there would have been, even if it's just like a group or a program. I don't care if it's just written on a card, like, I'm here for you. Like, I see this, I can acknowledge I've kinda lived through what you're walking through. I can acknowledge this. Would you like to just talk about it? You know what I mean? And even if you don't wanna talk about it, if you don't want me to say a word, I just wanted you to know that I am a friend, that I'm here, that I'm a listening ear, and that goes such a long way, and it definitely goes a lot further than, "You just need to calm down." That there's nothing even really
Yeah.
happening. Why are you even worried about that in the first place? I mean, there's nothing
Mhm.
going on, right? And you're just
Mhm.
sitting here like, "Okay,
Like, "Oh, that's a good
really?"
idea. I should try that."
That's a very, you know what? I think I will try that next time. That is a very good idea. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think
I
it's
think,
interesting.
okay, friend, we are gonna pause right here. I know, I know, I know. I wanted to keep going too, but this conversation was just too important for us to rush. And because Nicole and I were cut short, that's when we decided this needed to become a two-part series. And honestly, I think that's fitting because some conversations just need room to breathe. And after talking about anxiety and what it looks like to try to hold on to our control and what it feels like to live for years carrying something you don't even have language for yet, just seems perfect to just continue this on where we can have more time. And maybe you heard yourself somewhere in this conversation. Maybe you have been the strong one, the steady one, and the one who keeps showing up, and the one that everyone else assumes is fine. But underneath it all, you're tired and you've been holding it all together and trying to do it by yourself. I just want to remind you gently before we go, needing help does not mean you're failing. Needing support does not mean your faith is weak, and being overwhelmed does not mean you're too much. You're not too much for God. You're not too much to be loved. You're not too much to be held. You're not too much at all. And next week, Nicole and I are going to continue this conversation and talk about the moment that changed everything for her, including receiving a diagnosis after decades of anxiety, learning to loosen her control, and what it really means to return to the peace of Eden. So make sure you come back for part two because we're not finished yet. We are not done with this chat yet. And if this episode met you right where you are, I would love for you to share it with a friend who may be quietly caring more than anyone knows. You can also grab Nicole's book, I Don't Have to Hold It All Together, wherever books are sold, and I'll make sure her links are in the show notes. Until next time. May you loosen your grip just a little. And may you remember you were never asked to hold it all. And may you know, even here, you're held. Amen. Okay. If you would love to show us some love on the show, you could do us a solid and you could share this episode. You could rate the podcast and you could leave us a review. I know that just sounds like so much, but you have no idea how much it helps to push this show out to others who need it, just like we do. Until next time, I love you all. Bye.